Tuppence, prudently, thriftily, frugally invested in the, to be specific, in the doors, tomes, mousely grubs, Fidelity Fiduciary Bank.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Price Check. This one is going to, I suppose, technically be Price Check episode 22, if I can remember numbers. They did teach them to me so long ago, it's been years since kindergarten. But I think I might just put it up under the title Price Check Special or something along those lines. Oh no, my live searches are still going. Because this is going to be a very special episode and something I probably will only do the once. Though who knows, we'll see. Where I am going to be grabbing a full stash tab worth of unidentified, rare, shaper, or elder touched gear. And I know this is not a full stash tab, it's hard with the random bases they drop to fill out every last space. So you know what, I didn't want to cheat you guys. We've got enough stuff to fill out the rest of it too, and that's just a pair of the elder gloves which I left in here for some reason. So we're going to be IDing all of this, and we're going to be seeing if any of it is worth crap. And the interesting thing about elder and shaper items is that while they have some of the most powerful rolls you can possibly find on rare items, they also can still be garbage, and most of the time they will be. But they're like a absolutely incredibly high stakes gamble, and we're going to go ahead and gamble a bunch. I've even got a belt and amulet or two here. Those are particularly hard to get your hands on, and it took a bit of mapping for sure to get all this together, but it was well worth the effort, and hopefully we get something cool out of it. So let's see what you've got for me, Tora. And if all of this goes wrong, I am blaming you, of course. 100% increased critical strike chance if you have killed recently. That is an interesting stat to have as an offhand, and let me just go ahead and check what that live search is and maybe bring it down. Yeah, we can go ahead and close this. Alright, hopefully that won't be bothering us anymore. 27% attack speed, pretty decent as well, but the light radius, the accuracy, the flat fire, +1 melee gems, I don't really think that has that much use. How much value does 100% extra critical chance have as an offhand stat stick, potentially, for something like Crit Sunder or a Crit Reeve build along those lines? Well, let's compare it against some of the more commonly used unique offhand stat sticks. So things like Death's Hand is used. Since it's a crit build, that seems like the most obvious thing to compare it to. And what does Death's Hand give you? Death's Hand gives you power charges when you stun and Unholy Might for 2 seconds on a critical strike, as well as 50% increased local crit. So I misread that when I started that sentence. It's local, not global. So it's just 30% chance to gain a power charge and Unholy Might for 2 seconds on crit. I would honestly say that Death's Hand is probably better as an offhand than this, and Death's Hand is going to be rather cheap this late in the league, so I don't think this holds any value, but that is a really interesting roll, and I'm glad to know it exists. 23% reduced extra damage from critical strikes. Nothing else really to speak of. What eye level is this, though? That's an eye level 79 rustic sash. That may be worth keeping around just to craft on. The belt market is really, really tricky to find value in, though, because of the existence of things like Darkness Enthroned and really good Stygian vises, which are ruining the market for pretty much anything else. So the sheer number of belts dropping means that this probably doesn't see much use, but if there's a really good shaper or a really good shaper roll out there, and you want the rustic sash base anyway for the increased fizz, perhaps someone might want that. Maybe I'll just put the base up for sale. +2 to maximum lightning resistance, a lowish life roll, which may actually be a hybrid life roll, as well as fire resistance and some armor. I actually want to check and see if we can craft flat life on that. We cannot. It's full up on prefixes. That's unfortunate. It actually doesn't say it already has this roll, which means that is a hybrid life roll. So if it were if it had a free spot for a prefix, that might be worth something. However, again, you got to compare it to existent uniques. That's one of the best sort of barometers for what these things might be worth. You just compare this to Saffel's frame, that gives you +4 max all res. Of course, it does come at the cost of some block, or your block rather is fully transitioned into spell block, but that can actually be useful in some builds. So I don't think this is going to be all that valuable. However, it is an eye level 81 base with a life implicit. That's pretty good. We're just going to throw bases I might want to keep back in here to craft on later, potentially. And we can pull out some of these other things and just keep going through. This may take a little bit longer than a regular price check episode because some of these items are going to require really in-depth explanation as to the reasoning behind my decisions. 680 flat armor if you've blocked recently. Stun chance, additional block chance against projectiles, which is just a regular mod. Shields can roll now since 3.0, by the way, in case you weren't aware of that. I don't think flat armor if you've blocked recently is very good. This is not a great base, and it's only on level 79. 50 crit multi if you haven't dealt a crit strike recently. 22% increased critical strike chance, that's just a regular mod, but 19% of physical damage converted to chaos. Now that's an interesting one. Exquisite Blade, I think, is a decent base. Let me just check my facts here. Two-handed sword bases, PoE. And we'll see what's at the top of the list. So it looks like it is Infernal Sword way up there at the top as far as flat damage goes. But I may be looking at the wrong sword base. Where's Exquisite Blade on this list? I don't actually even see it. Alright. Oh, it's a Maraketh weapon in the base. Okay. Is that just not shown on the table then? Because if I transition over to the browser, you guys can see what I'm looking at here. Though it's the wrong browser window. Let me pull this in. You can see that on these two-handed swords, we actually don't see Exquisite Blade anywhere. So let me look for Maraketh two-handed, perhaps? List of Maraketh weapons. Doesn't seem to be one listed here. Perhaps the wiki is simply not up to date, because this definitely exists. I have it in-game. It is a crit-based sword, and from what I'm aware, Exquisite Blade is pretty damn good as a base. What eye level is this? 83? Okay, yeah, this is definitely worth keeping around just as a crafting base. I don't think those rolls are particularly good, though some of them are really interesting. This is just really, really good as a crafting base. Okay. Recover 5% of ES on kill on a Colosseum plate? Not really what I'm looking for. Behemoth Mace, that is definitely the best one-handed mace base. 6% increased attack speed as the implicit fortify when you stun an enemy with melee damage. Neat. Not very well rolled, but again, well, actually only eye level 77, so I'll go ahead and get rid of that. Max mana recovered on kill, life, and dex. I mean, I am encouraged by seeing life. Max mana recovery, not particularly awesome. I mean, for Might Never Matter, that's rather nice, but like, Might Never Matter build probably doesn't want a Destiny leather base, and would want, like, you know, probably resists on their chest piece, or they're going Cloak of Defiance. Some totem damage, ranged attack totem support. Satin Slippers are horrible. It's a terribly low level base. Level 20 Hypothermia. Really, really neat that that exists, but again, not particularly useful. We're looking for life and resists probably. 117 life. 30 fire resistance. That flat mana, I think, is the Shaper mod. 6.7 mana regenerated per second. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good helmet. I don't know, like that can solve your mana problems if you're having any, if you're having mana regen problems. And it's got good life, a stat, and a resist. That's a solid item right there. Remove chill and freeze when you use a flask. Also neat. A lot of these mods I've not seen before, so cool that can happen. Some level 22 discipline skill. I have seen that one. I've been rolling on amulets a little bit. This could be perfect for my build if I hadn't just gotten like one of the best amulets pretty much on the server. That was a lucky corrupt. There was a Shaper mod that I was after for the amulet slot, and I need Dex, so a Dex base would be good, but this is not particularly high level, and I don't think I'm going to be replacing my amulet anytime soon anymore, so go ahead and vendor that. Not the amulet, the rest of the stuff. We do hold on to the amulet, because any Shaper jewelry at this point seems to be worth holding on to. And this helmet is actually worth selling, so let's go ahead and throw that in here. And we'll price things at the end, and we can get rid of the currency. And let's see if we've got anything else of value in here.
Yes.
So many random weapon types and bases. It's so awkward filling your inventory with them. And this is, you know, why you don't just pick up everything. Because inventory management is like a large chunk of the game. It's going to say 50%, not that big, but a big chunk of the game. And picking up big clunky things like assassin bows and all that usually doesn't help. That is a 6-link. That is a 6-link one-hander. That is not really that good. But that's pretty neat. I don't think anyone's going to use that as their main hand weapon. The DPS is incredibly low. The weapon base is not very good either, as far as one-handed maces go. It does have some global increased elemental damage with attack skills, I suppose. But as an offhand, that does not offer much, aside from the fact that, you know, maybe you have a 6-link for your War Chief totem, I suppose? If you're in a crit LE damage setup? Because you do want your War Chief maiming, I guess? I don't know. Wed and maim don't really seem to go together too well. I don't think that's got much value. +2 to socketed bow gems. Socketed gems are supported by level 18 cast on crit. Also neat. Also, I don't think very useful. And assassin bows, not a good base as far as I'm aware. Some global crit multi. And the level 20 increased critical damage, but I don't think that's worth too much. Level 20 blind, some life, some resists, some lightning damage to attacks, and some 9% global chance to blind enemies on hit. You know, I don't think that's gonna see much use, but it's got life and a resist and an interesting shaver mod, so I'll hold on to it. Flat cold damage to spells seems to be the shaver mod here, but the rest of it is pretty garbage. 34 life is not enough. Even it does have percentage increased dexterity. That's neat. So that's an elder effect. That could be really, really useful in the right build. 19% of fizz is extra fire, and damage penetrates 8% fire res. That looks like a decent stat stick to me in the offhand. It's not going to be as good as a princess for the extra fizz, but you know, it is going to also offer some pen, which could be really nice. I don't think that's going to be that much better than using, like, again, a Death's Hand in a crit build, or a Princess in a non-crit, or Tempestuous Steel, perhaps. There's a lot of, like, unique, widely available offhand weapons that this sword would be competing with. So I don't really think it actually has that much value, but I'll hold on to it. Again, I'm being very lenient with these items because they are so new, and I don't really know their worth yet. Generic mind damage is great. Life and a stat. Maybe you can craft a res on that. We'll have to see. Some increased critical strike chance for spells, some cast speed, and that's about it. But this could also be neat in the right build. I don't know. This one I don't have a lot of high hopes for, actually. That's pretty good cast speed. It's a good amount of crit, but like you can get that just on a regular scepter, and then it's not going to be as bricked up with stuff. PDPS on this is not very good. 127% is okay, but it's not like got an APS on it or crit or anything. It's got 20% wed. That doesn't make up for that. This level 20 brutality is kind of irrelevant. Most of the time the level X effect supports are not going to be particularly relevant unless it's a good weapon otherwise, and like it is actually like a 6-link one-hander, because then that's really good, but you need to still have some of the basic stats that you want in a one-hander. This one I'm kind of excited for. It's a... What eye level is this? Eye level 80 Sea-Jax. Sea-Jax being basically the best one-hander base. 1.2% life regenerated a second, but no life, and some pretty garbage stats otherwise. Corona leather isn't horrible. 7% increased intelligence, sure. And nothing, except for additional block chance while dual wielding. But I will hold on to the base. Sea-Jax is neat. Alright, so we've got a few interesting items here. I think what we're going to do, because I did want to do a little bit of crafting at the end of this episode. Oh wait, I forgot. We still have these three.
Another day in the land of plenty.
And we still have 3 more Christmas presents to unwrap, and it's only the 17th of December. Onslaught. That's kind of neat, but not very useful. This roll is horrible, aside from that, but getting free Onslaught could be really nice in a lot of builds. 6% increased elemental damage to the attack skills. 31. Oh, the Fizz weapon damage while dual wielding. That's probably the Shaper mod. Culling Strike. Just straight up Culling Strike can roll on two-handers. Okay. I doubt that's limited to mesas. Two-handers probably have, like, you know, a very large pool of rolls for all two-handers. I think I've seen that on a bow before as well, so it may even be just like all two-handed weapons in general, including bows, that can roll Culling Strike. That's kind of gross. Okay. That could be really, really good. Not on this Maul. That Maul is horrible. But information is power, my friends. And let's see what we have as far as bases to work with. I do have this ring that I was rolling, and I may as well show you guys what a really like nice Shaper item might look like. I Chaos Spam my way into this. It's got like this is the basics for what a sellable Shaper item might be. This is like the lowest tier. Curse enemies on hit is obviously an incredibly powerful effect. People will corrupt, you know, hundreds of gloves to be able to get that. So that's what gives this any value. And it gives it so much value, in fact, that even having just the 32% resistances from the implicit, 60 life, and the curse probably makes this sellable. Somebody maybe could use fire damage as well. Some crit build that does fire damage. That's a pretty wide net you're casting. So I think this definitely has value. However, I don't really know how to go about pricing it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to look this one up. I did set it aside before the stream, the stream, yeah, the video. I've been doing a lot of streaming lately. I did set it aside just so that we would have something Shaper touched of some value to look up at the end of the episode if nothing too terribly interesting came up, and nothing really did. So let's look for a ring. We're going to look for Shaper, yes. And we're going to look for level... let's just look for Assassin's Mark. Curse enemies with Assassin's Mark on hit, as well as over 50 life. And we're just going to see what comes up with that very lenient search. That we can also put in resistance, pseudo-telamar resistances of like 25 minimum. So that'll catch anything but like a resist base pretty much. 3 results. We're looking at a diamond ring here with 50 life, less resist than we have, but it is a diamond ring base with crit, and then level 12 Assassin's Mark. We only hit level 8. This one is basically our ring. We've got 19% fire damage, 60 life, curse of level 8 Assassin's Mark, and 32 resist total from the implicit. Whereas this one here has a good amount more resist. It's actually got just about double the resist, but it has literally the same fire damage roll and a good amount more life, or 10 more life. So this is maybe 20% better than our ring, maybe a bit more than that. The resist does make a pretty big difference. I don't know what this is doing here, but it's pretty cool. It's got some flat alley, it's got some all res. 100 exalts seems a bit much, but maybe he's just showing off. I think 10 exalts is also a bit much for this. It was only listed an hour ago. With a item this specific, we can search offline as well, see what we can find. Still only 3 results. Okay, so we've got a very, very small playing field here. So we can be pretty, you know, demanding with what we want out of this ring as far as the sale goes. And I think we're going to be listing this thing at, well, how much are exalts right now? Let's see. Let's see if that 600 chaos one is actually more than 10 exalts, which I think it is, because I think exalts are like 40C at the moment. 41, 42, somewhere around that range. So this is way more than 10 exalts. This is the cheapest one here right now. And it's also the most comparable to our ring. We could go down to, say, 8 exalts, undercut this guy a little bit, sort of, because, you know, he does have a better ring than us. We have a very similar one that, you know, someone looking for this might still be able to use if they can stomach the loss of that 30-something fire resistance. So, what I'm going to do is actually grab the ring, craft something on it that may be desirable to someone who'd want this. So we'll see what crafted rolls we can get. I don't think I can put a resist on yet. It's full up on suffixes, but perhaps some flat fire. That synergizes with the percent fire. Some flat fizz could be good for the right build. I could leave it uncrafted for someone to craft on themselves, but, you know, if someone's dropping 8 exalts on an item, they can probably scour craft something if they need to change it. So I'd rather have more stats on the item so it shows up in more searches. I think I'm going to go with the flat fire damage. Seems the most relevant to what the ring is doing already. And we're going to go ahead and get it listed for 8 exalts. It's a very small market. It's a very competitive one, evidently. I did not think this would be 8 exalts. I thought this would be like 1 or 2. But you know, sometimes I get pleasantly surprised. And this is why you price check something that's this specific and this potentially valuable. Anyways, that's going to be the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a thing or two. There wasn't all that much learning being done today, I suppose, because most of the items I found were pretty useless garbage. But if there's one thing you could learn, is that it's probably worth rolling Shaper-touched rings that are at a decent item level. It's probably worth doing that. This one, for the record, was item level 80. I think the curse roll can only roll on item level 80 plus, but I'm not certain of that. Look it up beforehand. Make sure you're spending your currency on a base that can actually give you that money back. I hope you enjoyed the episode, though. I will see you in a day or two for a much more normal episode. I do have a full tab already all prepped and ready to go. I'll try and work Shaper and Elder Touched items into these episodes more frequently, just a half dozen of them, maybe a handful, 2 or 3. We're not going to do another full tab worth, though, I don't think. If you did enjoy and you aren't already, you can catch me when I'm live on my stream every day for 8 hours minimum each day, usually starting around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and going for 8 to 9 hours. I hope to see you there, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one, everybody.